Hi, welcome. I'm Nick from local Spicery, and today we're going to try something a little bit ambitious. We're going to make papusas. Now, papusas are a great Central American dish, and I say Central American. I know we go to Mexican restaurants, we see it on the menu, but papusas really come from further south. In fact, the country of El Salvador have claimed papusas as their national dish, but El Salvador, Honduras, Belize, all have a long cultural history involving papusas as an original vegan food. It's a dish that consists of 4 elements, each of them very simple, but when you put them together, it's kind of a spectacular dish. Basically, it's a thickened corn tortilla that is folded over into a pocket with a filling inside, and then it's cooked after it's folded over, and then you generally serve that with beans and with rice, and then also with pickled vegetables or some coleslaw on top. It's absolutely delicious. It is a pre-Columbian dish. We do have evidence of it archaeologically dating before European contact. And the interesting thing is that the oldest recipes that we know, almost all of them have a vegan filling. The oldest meat fillings that are out there are pork, and of course pork is not pre-Columbian. So the spices that we're going to be using today, of course, this is Central American, so I'm going to be using my Mex Mix. Mex Mix is, a lot of people, you see Mex, you think it's going to be hot. This is not hot. This is basically it's the herb profile that I use when I'm doing any kind of Central American food. And it's herbs with a little bit of a spice that's called achiote that is native to the Yucatan area, that's in southern Mexico. Achiote has a unique, earthy, tangy flavor that's absolutely addictive. So for me, whenever I'm doing anything that's south of the border, this is my first grab, and you'll see I'm going to use this in a couple of the pieces of the papusas coming together tonight. Also, we're going to be using our guajillo chili powder. So the guajillo chili powder, it is a completely originally salt-free chili powder, and it's driven by the flavor of a particular chili that's called the guajillo chili. Guajillo chilies are not a hot chili. They carry a little bit of heat. I like to think of it as kind of a warming sensation in the back of the mouth, but it's not something that's going to have you grabbing for your water glass. And it has, so the guajillo chilies, it's probably the thickest skinned of the dried Mexican chilies. And when it dries, it takes on some beautiful sweet berry tones, as well as just a little tiny bit of a bitter flavor that I find irresistible. Guajillo is the king of chilies. You find, in the center of the culinary world in Mexico, in Oaxaca, the holy trinity is the guajillo chili, the ancho chili, and the pasilla. That's the holy trinity. You find those in most of the moles and combined in different ways. Our guajillo chili powder, it's a blend. It's got some garlic in it. It's got some herbs. When you see a recipe calls for chili powder, think about the guajillo chili powder, salt-free, and it's got a big, strong, very, very authentic flavor. I'm also going to be using some garlic powder. Now, you may think garlic powder is so pedestrian, but when we first started the business and we started, buying product and running it through the mill, the garlic was one that was just one of the biggest surprises to us, because how different garlic powder is when it's been freshly milled. It really, really does carry much more of a fresh garlic flavor and aroma, and I can use it interchangeably with fresh garlic. Usually, when I make my bean dish, I'll use fresh garlic. Tonight I'm going to be using the garlic powder. And I'm also going to be adding a little bit extra cumin, because for this bean dish, I like a little bit more cumin. Just a little bit stronger cumin flavor than I normally get out of the Mex Mix. Two more spices I want to highlight. I am using our pickling spice here for the pickled vegetables, and I'm going to be adding into the beans. This is just a small sample, but we have a huge quantity of it right now. It's called cascabel chili. It's a type of a chili, not a hot chili. It's actually very, very mild in flavor, very, very slight heat component, but it's got this great earthy tone background. I mean, if you've ever had a really, truly original Oaxacan mole, and you're thinking, what is that flavor that just makes this taste so authentic? It's actually not from a cascabel. It's from a chili called chihuahua, which you can't get in this country. But the cascabel's very close, and I've just been going crazy with cascabel. I am absolutely obsessed with it, and you'll see me frequently using it. So what I'm going to do, we're going to make 4 components. We're going to make the papusa itself, the tortillas. Yes, we're going to make it completely from scratch. We're going to make the rice, and to make it interesting, we'll make the rice with some fresh cilantro and some lime, and that should be nice. The beans. This bean recipe is the best bean recipe in the entire world. It's for black beans. It's made in a Cuban fashion. I put some roasted green chilies in it. You can see these. These chilies, these are Anaheims. Anaheims are very, very mild. In fact, they are the most mild chili that there are. You can buy them at the grocery store. They look like this. Sometimes they're called a pasilla, but it's an Anaheim if it's long and thin like this. I just throw them in the air fryer, and takes about 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. Flip it, but you want it in the air fryer until it gets really, really quite black, and then you peel away all the black skin, let it sit, and then you split it, de-seed it, and you'll get it looking just like this. So we're going to make this bean dish. The other thing that I said this was a Cuban style bean dish, and what a Cuban style bean is, you cook the beans first in onions and with spices and other flavors, including these chilies. But then once it's done cooking, you add some fresh flavors on top of it. We're going to put some fresh tomato and some tomatillo and some green onions and some other really great garden flavors that are going to go raw, pureed in the blender, and then tossed in the beans at the very end, which gives it just an incredible flavor profile. The other thing we're gonna be doing is the pickled vegetables. I made these last night. It takes about 10-15 minutes to put them together. We're going to start with the rice. Let's take my rice bowl. Recipe for the rice is really very simple. It starts with 1 cup of rice. For this one, I'm using an organic long-grain basmati rice that's been pre-measured. That's 1 cup. It's 1 cup rice to 2 cups water. I've got my 2 cups of water over here already measured out. And the reason why I've got that sitting on the side is I told you I was going to put some cilantro in it. So I'm going to stuff the cilantro into this little blender. And I'm going to add some water to the cilantro so that I can really liquefy it, because I want the cilantro to kind of infuse the rice. I want to make an arroz verde. That's my plan. So here's more. I'm just going to stuff this. Now, a note about this: if you see the bits that I'm taking out, this is probably equal amounts of cilantro stem as it is leaf. You'll find that the stems actually deliver more flavor. They're a little bit more fibrous, but in this case, where we're going to completely liquefy them, it doesn't make any difference. So I put about half leaf and half stem. Just a regular old lime here. I'm going to quickly zest it, and the zest is going to go right in with the cilantro here. So let's get the zest. There we go. There we go. Pour a little bit of water in. There it goes. And there this goes. Got to plug it in. Okay, I'll put that in here. It smells magnificent. I'm going to put the rest of the water in. Get a spoon and just mix it up a little. And I'm just going to throw it in the rice maker, and that's done. It'll be ready in about 45 minutes. Okay, let's dive right into the beans. So for the beans, it's kind of a two-act play. The first act is going to be a quick saute. We're going to put some. Let's see, are we plugged in? No, we're not plugged in. We're going to saute some onions. We're going to put some spices in it, and then we're going to add some tomatillos to give it a little bit of texture. I'm going to start the Instant Pot on saute, and I'm just going to go ahead and dump this in. This is just a medium-sized yellow sweet onion that I've chopped. I'm going to throw it in there, and the idea really is just to cook it until it's about translucent. You know, get it a little bit soft. It's you know, it's going to keep cooking in the Instant Pot, so it doesn't have to go a whole lot further. All right, so here's the green chilies. I'm going to lay them out here on my chopping board, and I'm going to just cut them into a very large dice. I like, you know, say like 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square pieces. This is so soft that a lot of times in the Instant Pot they'll just disappear, but the bigger the pieces are that you make them right now, the greater the chances that in your ultimate bean dish you're going to get get a bite of green chili, which is just so wonderful. Okay, so by the way, this is 4 Anaheims here, and they look about ready. I've also got over here 1/2 of a jalapeno. You see I cut this in half. I de-seeded it just using the tip of a teaspoon, and then I stripped it really very, very thin and chopped it very small. I like it in small pieces. I don't want to get a big burst of flavor. I'm only putting 1/2 of a jalapeno in, so this is not going to be a hot dish. It could be if you want. You know, I kind of go based on how I feel. Sometimes if I'm feeling my Elgin ready for it, I'll go up to two full jalapenos. Tonight it's just kind of a pleasant evening. So let's not go too far. All right, so I'm going to do that. We do the things. Okay, let's. I've got my tomatillos, and of course, for those of you that aren't familiar with tomatillos, when you get them at the store, they look like this. They have this husk that you take off. When you're buying tomatillos, you want to find a tomatillo, you know, that's got a little bit of a give. You know, they're never going to get as soft as a tomato will, but you want to feel like it's got some freshness to it, because that means it's going to be producing some sweetness. And tomatillos should be fundamentally a sweet flavor in your cooking. Right, so bada bing, normally we say 1 tablespoon of our bada bing bouillon powder per cup, but in this case I'm not going to do five tablespoons. I think I'm going to do 3, and that 3 is going to be plenty. It's going to give it a nice rich mirepoix flavor, and you know what we're going for with these beans is we really want kind of a umami bomb of different flavors, and this is going to help with that. Okay, we're making hay over here. Onions are cooking quite quickly now. Almost ready. I think I'm ready. We're going to go ahead and put the spices in. Quantities on the spices. The 2 ones that I use the most of, the Mex Mix. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons in. There's 1. There's 2. I'm going to add just an extra teaspoon of cumin on top of that. I'm going to throw in a teaspoon of the garlic powder. And then I'm going to again do 2 teaspoons of the chili powder. You really can't go wrong in seasoning these beans. You'd be hard pressed to over spice it, to over season it. I mean, you could put too much heat and make it too hot if you're sensitive to the heat. But in terms of too much spice flavor, I mean, you really want a lot of flavor coming out of this. Okay, so now you put those spices in. It stops sauteing. It's really starting to glaze over the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to put at least half of my bouillon in here. There we go. And I'm just going to rapidly deglaze the bottom of the pan. Makes it easier to clean later, and you get the best part of the food. Okay. Here goes my green chilies. Here goes 1 pound of black beans. And I'm going to put in 4 tomatillos. It's like, 2 kind of medium-sized ones and 2 that are on the smaller side. I'm going to cut these into 8 pieces, okay? I'm going to do quarters and then cut them sideways, maybe. These will cook way down. They almost disappear in the dish. And the rest of the bouillon. And just stir that up a little bit. And I think we're ready to put the lid on it. Okay, so that's just to kind of review the bidding. 1 pound of black bean, 5 cups of liquid seems to work for me for Instapot with beans. I'm going to seal it, and then usually what I'll do is I'll cook it for 35 minutes, and then I'll let it just do a natural release. So we're going to do some fresh flavors that we're going to add to it. So let's just go ahead and throw them in. I'm going to use a little bit bigger blender for this. I'm going to put in just 2 Roma tomatoes. I'm going to put in 3 more tomatillos. And the idea, I'm just trying to cut this down into chunks. Okay. Throw those in. Okay, this is just one bunch of scallions, not a farmer's market bunch, but a your regular grocery store bunch, which is like a third as many as they give you in the farmer's market. And again, I'm just going to cut this into little 1/8-inch rounds. I'm going to slice it all the way through the white and part way into the green part. This, we're trying to get some good spring garden flavors that are going to, there we go, going to infuse these beans. Okay. And anything else? Oh yeah. I've got another bunch of cilantro here, and you know what I'm going to do? I told you before how that you get more flavor from the stalks. I'm just going to cut the stalks off of this. I'm going to set the leaves aside. We might use that, if I remember, to for a garnish at the end. But we're going to pull our cilantro flavor entirely out of these stalks. Let's just put those in here. And then for a little bit of liquid, got 3 limes. Just going to juice them quickly and pour the juice in there. And that should be pretty good. Oh, actually, I forgot something. I told you I was going to put the cascabel chili, and I would have put it in while I was cooking, but I'm going to throw it in now and put it in with the fresh flavors. It'll be nice. Let's throw that in. Okay. Put the lid on. And let's see. I'm just going to set this aside. No reason to pop it up right now. So this is going to sit here. It's going to cook in my Instapot for 35 minutes. Then it's going to have a natural release for another 5 or 10 minutes. When it comes out, I add this. And the other thing is that's a really good time to check the consistency. If you end up with beans that are too watery, what I do is I'll just take the top off. I'll turn the Instant Pot off, and I'll turn it back on saute. I'll let it boil for a while, and it'll reduce down and thicken it quite a bit. So that's a good time to do it. We actually want our beans to be a little bit thick because we're going to use the beans in this dish both as the filling inside the papusas, and we're going to use them for beans on the side. So I got the rice going, I got the beans cooking, and I'll come back in a little bit, and we'll make the papusas, and we'll put this all together. The beans have gone through their natural release. I've taken a look. They're a little bit watery, and I want them to be thicker. So as I said, I might do. I've turned it on saute, and I'm letting it it's just going to boil there and simmer and reduce while I'm getting the papusas ready. The rice is done. It looks beautiful. Let me pull it up so you can see. So there you go. You can see our arroz verde. It's beautiful. And I went ahead and got just a little bit ahead of the game in terms of making the papusas. So one thing that's waiting, just so you know, on the beans, this is that all I did after was run the blender. I did add the cascabel chili, but I just added it as we're reducing, so it's going to cook a little bit into the beans, which is really my preferred way to go. So we're doing this with the cascabel chili. It's going to get those great rich flavors. Then we're going to dump this in there, and then the beans will be done. I went ahead and got a start on the papusas. So we use this. This is just a standard masa. Has 3 ingredients. It's ground corn, lime. It's treated with lime, which breaks down the carbohydrates in the corn and releases some of the fats, so that you can get that kind of springy flavor to your tortillas. Put 1 cup of the masa in the bowl, and what I do is I took a 1/4 cup of just corn kernels. In this case, I didn't have it fresh, so I just used it in the can. This is sodium free, and I put the 1/4 cup in the blender. I measured out 3/4 cup of water, and I put a little bit of that water then in with the corn, so I could run it in the blender, and I wouldn't have to worry about getting the corn to fall down in the blender. It all just really liquefied quite nicely, and then I mixed them together. I added most of the remainder of the water. I do find that 3/4 cup water to 1 cup of the maize of the masa, just about right, but I'll always start a little bit less and add more, and then that should once you get it blended together, and there's no way to do it but with your hands, you got to get messy. You can make about 8 tortillas. So I have 8 balls this size. What I did is I made a big ball, I cut it in half, I rolled each of those balls into kind of logs and cut those into 4ths, and then rolled them into balls. So I've got 8 balls about the same size, so my tortillas will all be about the same size. I've already pressed a few. I'm going to do one here for you now. It's just a sheet of parchment paper, fold it over. I'm going to put this in between the 2 sheets, folded of parchment paper. It's just a piece of metal, basically. It's a grill press for grilling, and I'm going to use that to press this tortilla. Now, it's a good thing probably that I don't have a tortilla press, because I don't want this to get as thin as you would make for a tortilla. It's supposed to have a little bit of a bite to it. Get a little bit bigger than that. I find I have to really push quite hard to get what I'm looking for. We're getting there. And there we go. You can see, it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. Nice little tortilla. I'll put it over here with the others. And that's what we're going to start with to make these papusas. I'll put this aside and see how we're doing on this. What I think I'm going to do, just to speed this up, maybe just a little bit more. Actually, you know what? I'm going to turn that off. I think it's done. Let's cancel. Take this out. I'm going to put these fresh flavors in there. Remember, that's tomato, that's tomatillo, it's scallions, it's cilantro, it's some additional tomatillos. Just delicious. Okay, that's looking pretty good, but it's still just a little bit runny. So what I'm going to do is, I got just a wire mesh colander, and I put it in a bowl, and I'm going to take some of the beans. I'm going to put it in here, because some of these beans, you know, I really want them to get fairly dry. I'm going to be putting them into the papusas as a stuffing. And so traditionally, if you ever get a bean stuffed papusa, I'm going to tell you right now, they generally use refried beans, so they get smashed. So doing this, I'm also smashing them just a little bit, getting quite a bit of liquid out of this. Now, I'm not going to throw that liquid away. That liquid is delicious. It's going right back into my beans. The great thing about beans is throw it in the refrigerator, and tomorrow it's going to be a whole lot thicker. There we go. So let's get these things going. I'm going to put one together, and then I'll turn the pan on. I'm going to cook these on a cast iron skillet. Cast iron skillets are perfect for this. Normally in Mexico they would cook it in a comal, which is kind of a large, heavy steel or cast iron, you know, like a grill. Usually it's outside. Okay, I'm going to fold this over like so, and I'm just going to tuck it under. And here's my fork. Just going to use this to get some little marks here, get that nice and sealed. Now, one thing I am going to do, okay, that's missing. Oh, here it is. Got it. Okay. Steel spatula. That's one of the greatest things about using a cast iron stove, a cast iron pan, is you can use your old steel spatulas and not feel guilty. Okay, so there's one. I'm gonna make one more. I'm not putting a lot of the bean stuffing in, as you can see. I'm just, you know, it's just a couple of tablespoons worth, and there's a reason for that, because if you put too much, you know, they will kind of leak out, and you know, even when you got them dry like this, they're gonna kind of squirt out. They won't be nearly so nice. There we go. These are looking really good. That's two, and I think I can get 3 in there at a time. So let's go ahead and do a third one right now. I have to do this quickly because Evelyn's in the other room. She's waiting for her food, so I gotta get this for her. There we go. A little bit more. Okay. It's starting to crumble there. Okay, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to go medium high, 350, 400 degrees. If you're seeing a shimmer on my cast iron, it's because I did just season it. And you know, when you season it, you do use oil, but then you wipe it all out. So there's really essentially no oil in there. I'm going to let it heat up just a little bit because I want to put it in nice and hot. I'm going to dump this this liquid right back in with the beans. You see how rich that is? It is delicious, man. Okay. And let's put our papusas on the comal. Here we go. So while that's cooking, I'm going to get a plate, get ready to plate this. Get some cilantro leaves here. Now, with these papusas, when you cook them, and I'm cooking them at a very high temperature, and they may actually be picking up a little bit of black flavor on the other black color. It doesn't bother me at all because, you know, this really is, it's kind of outdoor food. It's cooked on a comal, and it'd be very, very, very traditional and the right way to go about it. Let's see what we got. Let's see if we can flip these. Okay, that's looking good. And while those are cooking, I have one last element that I want to walk you through. I'm not going to make this in front of you because it has to be made the night before, but we are going to put together a reel on pickling vegetables, and I usually make them in a jar like this. First thing that I'll do is I'll fill the jar with the you know, I'll measure out the quantity of vinegar in the jar, and what I do is usually half vinegar, half water. In this case, we're using a apple cider vinegar, but I want to leave about a quarter of the jar on the top, and I'll tell you why. So you're going to fill it up to there. So you don't have to measure, just you know, about half of that vinegar, about half of that water, and then on the top we top it off with just a little bit of rice vinegar, because the rice vinegar has a nice natural sweetness that makes it sweeter. That's one of the ways that you can avoid putting sugar. A lot of people do put sugar in their pickling spice. But so then I'll take the vinegar and the water that's in here. I'll dump it into a small saute pan, and I put a tablespoon of pickling spice, and that's local Spicery's pickling spice. And I just let that sit and simmer in the pickling spice for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you know, I'll put whatever vegetables I want to pickle to fill the jar. In this case, what I did was carrots, red onion, and cabbage. It's really traditional to use primarily cabbage in this context for papusas, primarily, if not exclusively. So I did a lot of cabbage. Cabbage is on top, and then I pour the vinegar back into it. And I'll usually use a strainer like this to strain the spices then out of it, so you're not picking spices out of your teeth as you're eating these. And then I just leave it out on the counter till it's you know, room temperature. I cover it, put it in the refrigerator, and the next day it's ready to go. All right, so I'm going to put these pickled veggies on top of my papusas. I'm going to dig down, see if I can get something other than cabbage. There we go. There's some onions. Oh, beautiful colors. And the great thing, I mean, we eat a lot of pickled vegetables. We do this. We always have a jar of it sitting in our refrigerator. This is the traditional dish, is the pickled vegetables. We don't usually think of pickled vegetables as a Central American thing, but it is, baby. All right. I'm just going to put some beans on here, on the side. A little bit of fresh cilantro on top. It tastes better than it looks.